Barricades are currently going up outside of the White House. I hope you guys are ready for tonight. I'm very curious as to what Joe Biden is going to say. He has made an appearance. He does not look very well. And we've got the story coming out from the Daily Mail that he looked deathly ill as they were rushing to get him to the hospital because he had COVID. Actually, I think they said COVID isolation. And I'm just like, I don't believe you. So right now, we've got a bunch of interesting news. Kamala Harris has a lower approval rating than Joe Biden. Yet many on the left are acting like she's going to win because, well, as you know, it's not about whether or not you can convince people to vote for you. It's about whether or not you can compile a larger number of pieces of paper with names on them. So, of course, we're going to have Joe Biden speaking tonight, addressing the nation. Netanyahu is in town. And many people are saying maybe the barricades are because of Netanyahu. And I think half yes. And that is, he's not going to be speaking at the White House. Excuse me. But the protesters are likely going to be out in D.C. in force. And so they're going to put barricades around the White House as well. Right now, you've got Republicans calling for Democrats to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove Joe Biden to install Kamala Harris, I guess. I suppose, though, with Joe Biden being as mentally diminished as he is, I suppose it does make a lot of sense. So we're going to go through all this. And then a couple of stories. I love this one. The media is claiming that Kamala Harris is not the border czar, never was, and the Republicans are lying about it, despite the fact that Axios.com quite literally said Kamala Harris appointed border czar. This is what they do. This is how the media plays this game. All throughout the Trump administration, several years ago now, I mean, we're talking a long time ago, huh? Donald Trump would say something like, did you see the news? They're saying they've got weapons being shipped to Ukraine or something like that. And then the media would be like the next day, nope, that's not happening. Trump would literally reference the news like CNN. And then the next day they'd call him a liar. And I got the proof for you to break this all down. Then we've got updates on the allegations against MrBeast's co-star who's resigned. And it's getting crazier. So we'll talk about that news today with Joe Biden set to address the nation. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. Buy Cast Brew coffee. Everyone's favorite Appalachian Nights, of course, is available. But Ian's Graphene Dream is sliding up in the ranks. We didn't see that one coming. Ian just said he wanted a low acidity coffee. So he said, sure, we'll figure something out. Made a blend and everyone went, whoa. This medium roast is based, and we've been selling a lot of it, so that's cool. But I still think Appalachian Nights is the strong favorite. When we first launched Cast Brew, we chose Rise with Roberto Jr. as our flagship. That was going to be the main breakfast blend light roast, but as people bought Appalachian Nights, man, they could not stop. Also, head over to Timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member, support the work of our team directly. We need your support as members. If you believe in the work that we do, if you like the new morning shows that we're doing live, just feels like more fun, to be completely honest, mixing things up. If you like the Timcast IRL nightly panel show and our guests and all of that stuff, then it's only possible if you are a member. So head over to Timcast.com, click Join Us, and you'll get access to the Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals and all that good stuff. But more importantly, it makes the machine run. All of our endeavors are able to continue because of your support. So let's get started. For those that are watching, feel free to get your super chats in. We'll go through the first story, grab some of your super chats, and then we'll jump into the next segment. We'll talk about Kamala Harris and all of that jazz. We've got the breaking news as of now. For the first time since he exited the presidential race, Biden to address the nation. How much you want to bet he's going to be unable to speak because they're lying? I'm willing to bet that this guy had a stroke, a mini stroke, a transient ischemic attack, they're calling it. And this story they've got coming out from the Daily Mail right here, exclusive, Biden was deathly pale. Air Force One was flying so fast I felt sick. Daily Mail's reporter on board reveals the incredible inside story of the mad rush to get Joe to COVID isolation and why she feared for him. Guys, I don't know about you, but this makes my blood boil because I'm not stupid. Neither are you. I'm wondering if your blood also boils. You think we're stupid enough to believe that you were worried about Joe Biden's health and that they were flying as fast as possible to get Joe into isolation? What a laughably absurd and stupid notion. Quick, he's got COVID. We better get him to isolation. Fly as fast as you can. Huh? Okay, how about this? The story that was reported as to Joe Biden's illness was that he suffered some kind of medical issue. They alerted Las Vegas Metro to clear a path to the hospital, to a University Medical, and then changed plans and said clear the path to the airport, and they flew him as fast as possible to the East Coast to get to Walter Reed. According to Red State, actually, I think, do I have the tweet here somewhere? Jennifer Von Lahr. It was a transient ischemic attack. That's what was being believed was happening. And why does that make sense? It's a mini stroke. If you're having a stroke, get him to the hospital, get him treatment now before it's too late. With a mini stroke, they say it clears up in a little bit, but you're at risk for stroke in the future. Considering it's Joe Biden, he's the president, but also that he's had a few, brain problems. This story makes perfect sense. They thought he was having a stroke. So they say, get him to the hospital. At the last minute, the doctor's like, I think he's having a TIA. We can get him to the East Coast and treat him on the plane. So they divert. But this idea that they were like, it was a mad rush to get him into isolation. Unfortunately, my friends, we have a lot of stupid people in this country. And, I'm seeing right now trending, repeal the 19th. No, I say, no. Do not repeal the 19th. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Just make it so you got to enlist. Or no, not enlist, but sign up for the selective service, not the Secret Service. There's a bunch of different propositions as to how we fix this system. One, it's you can't vote unless you have children. I don't know that that solves the problem. It's better than nothing. You can't vote unless you're a net taxpayer. That may solve the problem, but the net taxpayer isn't as hard as people think. I think we looked at the numbers and it's like 60% of the population are net taxpayers. Still, not all that bad. If you're receiving handouts from the state, you don't get to say in how we're going to spend it. But I actually think selective service makes the most sense. If you sign up for selective service, meaning you are eligible for the draft, you get a voter ID card and you can vote. You don't have to serve. You just have to say you're willing to be drafted when the time comes. And then some people have said, no, that's BS because then they're going to draft you to go fight in Iraq or something. I'm like, no, because only the people who could be drafted would be voting. See, right now, the problem is half the country, more than half the country, can't be drafted. And they're voting that we all go and be drafted. So I say you'd also have to amend it so that if you're older, you can still be drafted too. You can be drafted to the point of death. 90 years old, you can be drafted. Why? Well, there's something you can do. Can maybe file paperwork. Maybe you can work on the computers and do some administrative stuff. It's whatever. We'll find something for you. I think that's a potential solution here. But let's talk about the main story of what's going to happen tonight so you're all prepared for the news. In an Oval Office speech this evening, President Biden will address his decision to abandon his race for a second term, as well as his plans to finish the job for the American people during his final months in office. The remarks will be Biden's first to the public since bowing to pressure from the Democratic Party and withdrawing from the presidential campaign on Sunday. NPR will carry live coverage of the president's address online. That decision was quickly followed by an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris to run for president. This we know. Harris has since received enough support from Democratic National Convention delegates across the country to become the party's nominee. The Democratic Party will hold a virtual roll call vote on August 7th to officially choose a nominee. Biden returned to the White House on Tuesday after isolating for days at his home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, during which time he also made the decision to withdraw as presumptive Democratic nominee. I don't think he did, to be completely honest. The president has tested positive for COVID last week. I also don't believe that. During a trip to Vegas. But as of Monday, Biden's symptoms had resolved and he took a rapid test that came back negative. Spare me! Spare me for the love of all that is holy. The dude had COVID for 5 days, 6 days. Dude, come on. He had COVID, came back, now he's fine. No, he had a transient ischemic attack. He had a mini stroke. He seems to have slightly recovered. And they said, dude, if this happens while you're campaigning, we are done. Drop out. They filled out the forms for him while he's laying in bed, convalesced, going, And then now that he's slightly recovered, they're going to say, go give your speech and say you're out. The idea, he had COVID and then a few days later didn't. The funny thing is, when he comes off the plane, he ain't even wearing a mask. And then they have him walking to the plane the other day, carrying a mask in his hand. Spare me, dude. Come on. There's just lies after lies after lies. Biden returned to the White House on Tuesday after isolating. He had COVID. But as of Monday, It was testing negative. Though Harris takes his place in the campaign trail, Biden still faces a busy schedule back in Washington. Blah, blah. Well, we've got an interesting problem, I guess, for the Democrats in that if Joe Biden is physically incapable of running for office and he's suffering COVID or whatever they want to claim, how can he be president? And so we've got this story from Fox News. We've had multiple efforts, or I should say there's a lot of pressure being mounted to have Biden removed under the 25th Amendment. Biden's cabinet doubles down on support for president amid calls to invoke the 25th Amendment. We'll start here from a couple days ago with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance calls on Democrats to invoke 25th Amendment. If Biden can't run, he can't serve. Jesse Waters' exclusive interview with Trump and Vance airs Monday. It already did. We all saw that. I think it's a coup attempt, Vance told Jesse Waters, speaking of multiple Democrats' efforts to push Biden to step down. There's a constitutional process. The 25th Amendment. If Joe Biden can't run for president, he can't serve as president. And if they want to take him down because he's mentally incapable of serving, invoke the 25th Amendment. You don't get to do this in the most politically beneficial way for Democrats. If it's an actual problem, they should take care of it in the appropriate way. I got to wonder about that, though. I got to wonder. That just puts Kamala Harris in office. Is that necessarily going to benefit anybody? Not that it matters. I mean, right now, even if Joe Biden is convalesced, putting it lightly, then how about incapacitated? Discombobulated? Then Kamala Harris still has control over what's going on anyway, so she may as well be the president. So we also have, this is the video of Joe Biden coming to his plane. Let's see from Fox. Oh, Fox News doesn't want us to read this one. Democrats don't want to do it. They don't want to remove him for whatever reason. Kamala is going to stay in her position. They're going to act like she's who people want. Oh, I think I have the story here. Is this it? Here we go. Florida senator to introduce resolution urging 25th Amendment to remove President Biden from office. This is Rick Scott. Shared on Sunday that he plans to introduce a resolution this week to urge the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment, removing Joe Biden from office, setting a threat to national security. The statement from Senator Scott comes just hours after Joe Biden announced he is dropping out of the presidential race and instead endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. If Joe can't run for re-election, he's not capable of serving as president for the next 6 months, and he needs to resign now, Senator Scott said in a post on X. We all know what the 25th Amendment is. It's, what is it titled? Presidential Disability and Succession. If invoked, the vice president would then assume the office of the presidency. Senator Scott alleged in a later post on X that Biden is now a threat to national security. Joe Biden shouldn't be running our country if he can't run for re-election. And look, I'm sorry, it's basic logic. Facts. If Joe Biden cannot, fly to meet voters in Ohio, how is he going to fly to, Germany to negotiate NATO costs, treaties, or whatever? How is he going to be meeting with Netanyahu to discuss Israel? Oh, that's right. He's not. His meeting with Netanyahu is abruptly canceled. And I love this, too, because Democrats are playing it off like it's a protest. Yeah, we are mad at Israel, so, we're not going to meet with him. Yeah, I think the reality is that Joe Biden's brain is probably just a dial tone right now. And it's been that way for a while. Scott said, this week I'll be introducing a resolution to urge the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment. Biden is not capable of fulfilling the requirements of the job, and that poses a threat to our national security. He ain't wrong. Texas Governor Greg Abbott also chimed in on social media, urging Biden to step down from the Oval Office. If Biden is unfit to run for the presidency, he is unfit to run the presidency. That's a good one. American security is at risk, both at home and abroad. A change in the Oval Office is essential immediately to ensure the safety of Americans and the security of our country. Biden has not indicated they'll be stepping down as president of the United States. I don't know that. Here's the challenge I have for everybody, I guess. If Joe Biden's brain is so fried that he doesn't know where he is and he can barely speak, you got to, I think I have the video of, I'll play this video for you guys. How is he supposed to know how to resign if he doesn't know where he is? Okay. Now, okay, I don't think he's dead, right? And I know a lot of people with the story of the stroke. The theory was that he was dead or dying. But what did I say? I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we never see from him again because of how unprecedented the past several months have been, the past couple of years, the past decade, I guess. But normalcy bias, He's going to pop back up a few days later. He's going to make a statement or something. So this is what we can expect. I believe tonight he will make a statement and he's going to say with a raspy, tired voice, I just got to focus on what's best for the party. And there have been many people who think someone else should come in. It would be based AF, and I hope Biden does this, but he won't. It would be based AF if Biden comes out and he's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. And then he jumps up on his table and everyone starts clapping and cheering. I'm not leaving. That'd be great. Take a look at this clip from Fox News. I think we have the audio here.
Does she want him out there on the campaign trail, or does she want to do this herself? I think back to the 2000 campaign when Bill Clinton wanted to campaign for Al Gore, and Al Gore said, thank you, but no thanks. Here he comes.
Here comes Joe.
Mr. President, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Look at his face. Dude, my friends who are watching this, there will come a day when I too am as old as Joe Biden. So too shall all of you. And look, man, I'll tell you this. It's going to be well before I'm 81. I'm going to be sitting on a rocking chair on my front porch, watching the grandkids play in the grass, with the dog or whatever. And I'll be sipping on an Arnold Palmer. That's right. Not just sun tea, but a little splash of lemonade in there. And I'm going to be like, dude, I'm out. Okay. At a certain point, you got to pass the torch. And here's Joe Biden. Look at his face. He looks like Beavis. What is he doing?
Come on, out of the race, sir.
Doddering old man. Hey, is he going to make it up the stairs? He's going for it. He's getting it. What's really crazy is that there are people who are a lot older than Joe Biden who can walk. But I think Joe Biden's problem is not his muscles or his bones. It's his brain. It's kind of wild. I guess the dude almost died in 1988 from like an aneurysm or whatever. So, look, there are questions about whether or not this country is going to transform into like the Chinese Communist Party system of governance, or we're going to have waves of patriotism ignite across this country and you end up with a Donald Trump. It's fascinating. And there's no point in arguing. We get people message us or a call in to Timcast IRL's the member show, become a member at timcast.com to check out the members call-in show. And they're like, what do I do to talk to my friends and family who just hate Donald Trump? And it's like, well, look, some people are beyond saving. And it's unfortunate, but some people want to revel in the pain and the suffering. Evil exists. And it must be really hard for a lot of you because you're like, how do we break out of this? Look, let me just explain. I have friends and family, and they hated Donald Trump. And then I was just like, that's fine. You're allowed to hate Donald Trump. I don't know, whatever. People hate a lot of things. And I don't like cilantro or anise, fennel, caraway. I don't like rosemary. I think thyme might be okay. Celery, oof, out. People don't like things. So when people come to me and they're like, I don't like Donald Trump, I'm like, okay. What don't you like about him? And that begins the process. What don't you like about him? And I'd say half the time people go, he's just, I don't know, he's like inside, he's dividing people. And I'll be like, oh, really? Oh, yeah, I disagree. I think the media is doing that. I think if you watch Trump's rallies, it's just like him doing stand-up comedy. But the media, the corporate press, they'll just say whatever. They'll lie, cheat, and steal, right? Here's what happens. Some people say, no, it's Trump. It's Trump's fault. I don't care what you think. Some people say things like, I think in most circumstances where I do encounter someone who's like, I don't like Trump, I don't even play games. I'm just like, look, man, North Korea crossing the DMZ, that was massive for me. And I'll be like, maybe you guys don't know or care about this stuff, but I watch this stuff. The Abraham Accords, I think, was a tremendous move. It was masterfully done. The Biden administration is damaging our quest for peace. So I think Donald Trump actually had great policies economically. We were looking at really great numbers economically, low unemployment. And yeah, I mean, he's a crass and crude guy. He's, he lacks the decorum of the office. When it comes to issues of fact, sometimes the people I talk to about this are just like, oh, I didn't know that, because they're not so culty or evil. But then you might unfortunately, you might bump into people who outright are just like, I don't care, I hate. And you're like, oh, wow. I watched this video because Repeal the 19th is trending right now on X. And it was a guy talking to a woman. And he's like, what do you think about the Trump assassination? And she said that she wished it went in his forehead. And he was like, wow, you'd wish death on someone. And she's like, well, I'm not a hateful person, but for him, yes. But I wouldn't wish death on anybody. We would be better off. And it's just like, okay, that person is evil. Like, I don't wish death or harm for anybody in the Biden family or any Democrats. None of this. I'm opposed to the death penalty. I hate death and destruction. I like life. All of these things. And there are very difficult questions around freedom, governance, balance. And we try to navigate these things all day, every day. And that being said, I am not your staunch pro-life advocate, but I think abortion is wrong. And so I would fall much more heavily towards the pro-life side than the pro-choice side, though I disagree to a certain extent. It is what it is. Then you meet people who are just like, don't know, don't care, bring on the pain, the death and destruction because it feels good. And I've met these people. The story I've told out of Occupy Wall Street, where this woman said, nothing matters. No matter what you do, you all end up in the same place. Total nihilist. So why not watch the world burn? Because it's exciting. And I was like, well, my attitude is kind of different. If one cannot navigate to a purpose, why not then craft a purpose and make things good? You might have a philosophy, you might be nihilistic, and many people are, where you think about, if I work for 50 years, where do I end up? It's like, same place. Well, what if I have kids? And then people will be like, the kids will do the same thing. Where is it going? Where is the end of humanity? What is the goal of human civilization? And they just become nihilistic, like, I see no purpose. Some people become evil. And they say, well, then I'm going to make things crazy. And that's what I met at Occupy Wall Street. Me, I think the opposite. I think there is a function and purpose to life. It's plainly visible mathematically, scientifically, and for those of faith, it's very obvious. But even if you didn't have those understandings, you could simply just say, well, at the very least, I can make people feel good. Right? I can do things that make them feel better over the long term so that we have long-term prosperity and happiness. Yeah, that's not what you get. So my point in all of this, my friends, as we round out the opening Joe Biden is broken segment, is that anybody who truly cared about the advancement of human civilization, the betterment of the poor, would certainly be saying the responsible decision is that Joe Biden leave office now. Kamala Harris, fine. But if we had a responsible population that cared about how to make this country better, Kamala Harris would be nowhere near the White House. Nowhere near. The question then becomes, as we move forward, my friends, will we find ourselves in a communist Chinese style of governance, or will we reinvigorate the constitutional republicanism of the United States? I certainly hope that Donald Trump wins. And you know what? I'll tell you what's fascinating. This idea, I see there's a video of a bunch of gay men wearing the green shirt that has Kamala on it. They're doing these coconut tree memes, which actually is like, this is funny. Kamala said, you didn't fall out of a coconut tree. And they're making these memes. And the funny thing is, I guess somewhere, like some non-English language, coconut tree is a racist reference to black people in their country. People who fell out of a coconut tree references black people. So I don't know what Kamala was trying to, I don't know if she realized what she was saying. But look, we have a shadow campaign, right? That's the point. We don't know what it will take to actually win and preserve constitutional republicanism in this country. And I don't mean big R Republican Party, constitutional republicanism. The states are sovereign. You can live how you want to live in your state. States send representatives, the senators, and the people have representatives, Congress, to work together at the federal level for the betterment of the states, not the federal government. But it seems like it's the other way around. Here we are. Let's round this out. Joe Biden's approval rating, last we checked, 38.5%. That's awfully low. And then we have this from 530 as well. Kamala Harris is at 37.8. Yo, you mean to tell me They swapped out a candidate with a lower approval rating, and they're saying Kamala's going to win. Okay. Have fun, I guess. We'll see, though. So next up, Kamala Harris hit with articles of impeachment, misleading people on Joe Biden, and then, of course, Kamala as the border czar. So we'll talk about that. But for now, I'll grab your super chats over here on YouTube, and we'll take your questions and talk about what you guys think. So let's get it. What do we got? Smash that like button. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. For those that want to watch, I just landed a switch blunt, switch kick flip out on the mini ramp. It is the mini ramp because it's a very small one. Goofing off, horsing around. We'll get some better clips for you today. But if you like the skateboard stuff, here we go. Big 7588 says, in 10 years, we may look back and laugh, or we may be busy reloading. Be active, vote, speak out. Heaven help us. I certainly hope we are just voting. But it is pretty wild to consider. If they're willing to go this far, I mean, okay, someone tried to kill Donald Trump. Not the first time, mind you, just the most successful attempt. The first time, what is it? Let me pull this story up. What is it? Guy grabs gun at a Trump rally. That was a long time ago. June 19th. Look at this. Guys, this is not the first time someone's made an attempt on Trump's life. CNN Politics, June 21st, 2016. Man who attempted to grab gun at rally wanted to kill Trump. Look, dude, I remember this. Trump wasn't even president yet. The things they were saying about this guy, it was crazy. Let me tell you, I get these people and I'm like, oh, I fear that we're on track for a civil war. Why? Because I read it in the news. I talked to academics, authors, international researchers, a former CIA official who wrote an article about how we're in civil strife on a dangerous path towards a civil war. And everyone's like, no. Guys, do you remember in 2016 when a guy tried to assassinate Donald Trump? We are now 8 years later, and the shot fired whizzed past, hitting his ear. Trump was actually shot in the ear, narrowly missing his skull. But for the grace of God, he survives. It's not the first time. And so we've been watching this escalation for 8 years. But you know what, man? People can't see... What's it saying? You can't see the forest through the trees, or forest for the trees, or whatever. The point is this. You are standing in the thickest of forests, and these people are walking in a line going, hey, look, a tree. Hey, look, a tree. And then I'm sitting here being like, guys, I think we might be in a forest. And they're like, no, they're not in a forest. There's just a couple trees in front of us. And I'm just thinking like, we've been walking for 8 years, surrounded by unprecedented historical moments, assassination attempts, plural. There was that moment where the guy jumped the barricade at a Trump rally, charged the stage, and Secret Service grabbed him. Just because they were not successful or as successful does not mean it never happened. It happened. We have unprecedented. Last night, it was my honor and privilege sitting here with AG Andrew Bailey of Missouri, who filed an original jurisdiction lawsuit on behalf of the state of Missouri against New York for election interference, for violating the free speech rights of Donald Trump and the people of Missouri, for the constitutional violations against a presidential candidate. And the Supreme Court ordered New York to answer the lawsuit by today. The Supreme Court likely will throw it in the garbage and be like, oh, we can't do anything about this. But unprecedented. The criminal charges against Donald Trump. Do you know what the indictment said? Quote, another crime. Trump was never even accused with the base crime they criminally charged him for. Unprecedented. And all of this has been happening for 8 years, and people are like, everything's fine. Okay, dude, let me put it this way. Civil strife, when I say civil war, it is a bit hyperbolic. It is, because I think if we're going to be fair and academic, civil strife is a precursor to civil war, and not always does it lead to civil war. There have been many periods of civil strife in the United States that have resolved, and we hope that's the case now. But when you see, New York unconstitutionally charging Donald Trump and gagging him, let's stress this point. Why is AG Bailey suing New York? Donald Trump has been gagged from speaking about what's going on in this criminal trial, and the trial is over. What? For what risk is there at all at any point? They've gagged him. He can't speak. A.G. Bailey was like, that's weird because usually the gag orders are for the benefit of the defendant. Usually you let the defendant say whatever they want to incriminate themselves. But they've barred Trump from speaking under penalty of jail. Now, I can't say I'm too happy with Donald Trump just abiding by these things. But I suppose he's not a man who wants escalation as much as many other people do. So I just want to stress this article right here. It is not the first time someone tried to kill Donald Trump. Jim Acosta wrote the article, of all people. It has been 8 years of escalation. And so when I sit down with someone and I'm like, I fear that we are on the path towards civil war, which is the extreme end. Yes, don't get me wrong. And we are in civil strife. And they go, no, we're not. Nothing's going to happen. I'm just like, my guy, it has been happening nonstop for 8 years. I mean, there was a period where a spy, maybe I shouldn't call him that because it gives it too much credit, falsely accused Donald Trump of digging up dirt on a political opponent because we all, as the American people, watched a video of Joe Biden breaking the law. Joe Biden sitting down at the CFR meeting laughing, saying, I said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting $1 billion. Yeah, the president doesn't have the right to withhold congressionally approved loan guarantees like that in exchange for some kind of favor. What was the favor? Victor Shokin, the prosecutor in UK, happened to be investigating one Burisma, an energy company, and just so happened that Hunter Biden was on the board of that company. Now, I got to be honest, I don't think that was Joe just trying to protect his son. I think the Burisma operation was a U.S. intelligence operation, and Joe Biden was protecting American interests by making them do this. And Donald Trump, who represents the American people and not the American deep state, said, what is this about Burisma and this loan guarantee thing? And then a CIA agent blows the whistle and says, Donald Trump did naughty things. They impeached him over it. They accused him of being a traitor to his country and a spy. Well, that's strange. He's popular. People are voting for the guy. People like the guy. They like his plans. They like his policies. Trying times, indeed. But with all of these things happening all around you, you might stop and consider to spin around and look at all of the trees and go, hey, I think we're in the forest. Yeah. Each tree representing an unprecedented, illegal or illicit maneuver to damage Donald Trump, the duly elected president at the time, and now the front runner for the 2024 presidential election. Talk about nuts. Let's read some more super chats. Free Men Die Free says fortification is his expertise after all. Certainly. Mavro St. John says in 2016, an attempt on Trump's life got me into politics. And in 2024, it once again brought me back in. Shout out. I should have read your comment first. I pulled it up. Crazy, right? I mean, it's nuts. It's 2024. So imagine a kid who was 16 years old in 2016. They're not paying attention to this. They have no idea what's going on. 16 years old. 2020 comes around, they're 20 years old. They don't remember that someone actually tried to kill Donald Trump. And they hear Biden, Biden, hoorah, and they go, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. I tell you this, my friends, there are a lot of prominent Gen Z live streamers and influencers who are like Trump. And so they're trying to do this Charlie XCX thing with Kamala Harris. Look, man, have you seen the videos of Kamala Harris dancing, doing her weird, shuffle dance? And they're like, Gen Z loves it. And I'm like, dude, Gen Z is not cringe. Gen Z is based. I'm not saying politically. I'm saying younger people aren't going to look at your cringe 60-year-old campaign dancing thing like, I'm with it, and be like, yeah, that's totally cool. They're going to be like, dude, not interested. You're not part of our peer group. That's silly. Don't get me wrong. Harry Sisson, I have to imagine that Harry Sisson in high school was just like the exuberant tryhard, Hey guys, can I hang out with you? And they're like, dude, Harry, chill, man. You're exuberant. They didn't say that word, but they said you're obnoxious, because the dude certainly is. But hey, shout out to him. Maybe he'll get his head straight in about 10 years. Let's grab some more super chats. Joey Giggles says getting extremely blackpilled right now. I think she's going to win because of DEI. The press is the enemy. Trump 2024. Yeah, let me show you the next story that I've got planned with the Kamala. The next segment we're going to get into. Kamala Harris is the border czar. That's a fact. They called her that in the press. And now that everybody's like, okay, she's the Porter czar, they're going, actually, no, she wasn't. It's like, well, you told us she was. Jeez, dude. Tattered Shield says, I heard someone call you the Meanie Beanie. That would be a funny coffee brand name. Make it super caffeine. We already have Alex Stein's Primetime Grind 2 times caffeine. It's a representation of the youthful exuberance within Alex Stein. C-Wit says, Tim, have you watched One Piece? Certainly have not. I cannot do One Piece. I have tried to watch it. I do not understand it. Look, man, I like anime. You know, Naruto, I watched all of it. I read all the manga. Shippuden. Bleach. Yeah, the Bount arc was, but, you know, whatever. And Full Metal Alchemist, absolutely amazing. Right now, I'm watching That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. I think that one's pretty good. But there are way too many of these shows where it's like, I've been transported to another dimension and I have superpowers. It's like, okay, I get it. You've made like 8 versions of the same show. Solo Leveling is kind of like that. But One Piece, I have tried to watch and I'm like, can't do it. I can watch OG Dragon Ball, but I cannot watch One Piece for whatever reason. So, what is this? Sarah, is that Sarah saying you've got to give it time, lots of time? Yeah, no, I certainly can't do that. I even tried skipping ahead, and I'm just like, I do not care for this. It's just boring. I tried watching the Netflix live adaptation, but that was also just very cringe. Couldn't do it. Hey, man, look, if you like One Piece, that's absolutely fantastic, because I know One Piece is basically like the most popular anime and manga in the world, so certainly there's a reason people like it. Just doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. All right. Tim Crespi says Biden is going to announce Trump is stepping down too. And he's going to announce it while, like pulling out a cell phone and then dialing a number and says, and Trump is stepping down. And then he calls and goes, I'm giving the order. Boop. And then all of a sudden you hear about another attempt on Trump's life. I'm kidding. We'll grab some more super chats before we get into this next story. Indie Film says, would it be a greater crime to forge a document on the official office of the president's stationery versus Biden's personal stationery? I don't know how much people actually care all that much about the stationery. Big 7588 says, One Piece spoiler, the legendary treasure is a single coin. The story is about freedom and the joy of being alive. Huh. And apparently it's also about eating strange fruit that make you gain some strange characteristics, like you can chop your body up or you can be stretchy. I don't know what other that's the show. For those that don't know, there's what are they called? There's fruit or something. If you eat it, it gives you powers or curses. Oh yeah, it's like if you eat it, you'll get a power, but then you can't swim or something like that. And so Monkey D. Luffy, the main character, ate the gum fruit, and now he's made of rubber, I think, and so he can like stretch. I was never a big fan of stretchy power superheroes. You know, like Mr. Fantastic was always kind of boring to me. I like the guy who can turn himself on fire. You know, Human Torch. What's his name? Johnny Storm. All right. Dragoon says, I've seen reports that Kamala is ineligible to run for POTUS due to her parents not being citizens when she was born. They had student visas. She was born in America. You're born in America, you're allowed to be president. Matt Gingell, how do you pronounce it? Gingle? It's interesting watching liberal media say that DEI is racist. Like, yes, that's what we've been saying the whole time. Agreed. Let's go. Way more. The Outlaw says, for somebody so sick, Biden went up those stairs to Air Force One nearly effortlessly. Watch the video. Indeed. I mean, yes, quite literally, indeed. We make fun of Joe Biden's health all the time and falling up the stairs. But if he literally just had COVID, I got to stop you right there, my friends. I've had family members who have had COVID. I have had COVID. The idea that a few days later he's running up the stairs, not interested. Dude, when I had COVID, it was bad. It was mercilessly bad. Yeah. I thought I was like, we called the hospital and they were like, lay down, good luck. And I was like, holy crap, it was the worst illness I've ever had. The flu I thought was bad. When I was like 19, I had a bad flu. I thought I was going to die. I lost like 7 pounds and I'm like shaking, pale and dehydrated. And I was like, this is miserable. I got COVID. I could barely breathe. I was like shaking, convulsing. Yeah, it was merciless. I don't take that stuff lightly. But then we got monoclonal antibodies and we were all better. The Tex vet says they don't want to remove him because then the people can see how Kamala is as president and destroys her run for 24. Completely agree. Eldritchinator says, hi, Tim, throwing normalcy bias out the window. Have you entertained a timeline where there is no election, or would they never abandon appearances? Entertained? I'll put it this way. Michael Malice, you better start crossing your fingers. Roseanne and Michael Malice appearing on Timcast, how long ago was that? Was it almost a year ago? It was a while ago, right? And Roseanne said there would not be an election. And Michael Malice says, yes, there will. So they made a bet. And they shook on it. And there were two bets. Roseanne already lost the first one. It was like military tribunals by the end of the year. Well, that didn't happen. And we were planning on we wanted to do a show at the Comedy Mothership in Austin with Roseanne and Michael Malice. It would be live Timcast IRL. And I guess what we were told was they only do comedy. And I was like, but that was the point of the show, is that it would be an entirely comedy-based political news show. So we'd be hanging out with Roseanne and Michael Malice, who would be leading the humor. And it would be kind of like, like news parody, political commentary jokes. I thought that would work. And we were told, I don't know who was trying to organize it. They're like, no, they only want comedy. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Don't look at me. Then someone else told me, no, that's wrong. We would absolutely do something like that. And I'm like, I don't know, man, whatever. But I would love to get Michael Malice and Roseanne on stage, live, Timcast IRL talking about news, with them just being funny, having jokes lined up, talking about these stories, and having a news comedy Timcast IRL show. It's good. We're gonna have to do something before the election or whatever. Maybe I got to invite Roseanne and Michael Malice to come out for our election show. I absolutely need to do that. I got to text Michael, because when the election happens, Roseanne's gonna have to hand him $1,000. That was the bet. We're doing a big, smashing election show. We're planning it now. I think we're looking at between 100 and 200 seats. It's going to be from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. There's going to be a stage. So it's going to be something you want to get up and walk around for. But the general idea is it's tough to do. 2020, we had a party. And so we had 40 people at the castle, our old studio. And we were live all night, and people came and went. I got up and said, I'm going to go hang out and schmooze and have some food. Someone else sits down and everyone talks the whole time while the ballots are being called. And we're going to do something like that. But we're going to have a venue. We're going to have a couple hundred seats. It's going to be, I think it's going to be moderately expensive because we're doing an all day thing. I think we may do a pre-show as well with panels and stuff. So we're really excited. We're working out the details, working on sponsors. It'll be in the DC Metro, probably in West Virginia. And it's going to be huge. And so I'd love it if Roseanne and Michael Malice were there, because then Roseanne's going to have to walk up and count out $100 bills to hand to Michael. But hold on. The question was, would I entertain no election? That's why I'm saying Michael Malice better start crossing his fingers, because it's looking like the probability of no election is very small, but still increasing. Still increasing. The unprecedented nature of what is happening before our eyes, I think there is at least single-digit percentage chance that we don't have an election. Now, the question then becomes, what are the rules? Roseanne was saying there's not going to be an election. But, and I clarified this with her, she's basically saying there's not going to be a functional, legitimate election. Like if Donald Trump disappeared overnight and it was Kamala Harris versus Jane Doe, that's not a real election, right? I think it's already fair to consider there was no election for Kamala Harris. But Michael was like, no. Michael's point was, even if it's a Potemkin election, they will have an election. So, two different perspectives. It's important to clarify this. But I think we mostly clarified it when we talked about it on the show. Michael's outright saying, if there's any kind of election at all, even if it's Kamala versus Jane Doe, that's an election. I wonder if maybe he's just saying that because he's getting worried now that there's not going to be a functional election. We'll see. Nuke the Ice Cap says we shouldn't be pushing to allow them to draft whoever they want. The military is weak because nobody trusts our leaders. Forcing people to join at the whim of our leaders we hate is a terrible idea. No. Listen. If you want to vote, sign up for selective service. That means in the time of an emergency, you got to be called to action. But it also means you get to vote. What happens? Liberals stop voting outright. That's it. They stop voting outright. They're going to be like, I ain't signing up for that. I'm not going to go dying for whatever reason. the people who end up signing up are only those who are truly willing to fight and die for this country and to serve this country. You don't have to actually fight and die if you get drafted. You could be a chef or an administrator domestically. But I think that is a good process. You won't be sent into war because it is only the people who could go to war who would be voting. And guess what? If everybody who is eligible to go to war is asked to vote, they're going to be like, I ain't going to war. Like, no, sir. Right now, women overwhelmingly vote for war, and they're not subject to the aftermath of the chaos. And that is unconstitutional. It should not be allowed. Women don't have to enlist for the draft, don't have to sign up for selective service, but they're overwhelmingly supporting the Democrats who are funding the escalation of World War III. That is deeply, deeply offensive to me. These women being like, I'm going to vote for a Democrat who wants war. And I'm like, why? You don't have to fight in it. You're not the one who gets called up to die in the event this escalates to World War III. Yeah. All right, my friends, let's jump to this next story. And I'm wondering what should the leadoff be? The leadoff? The media lying about Kamala being the border czar? I think it should be the impeachment over the border issue. Kamala Harris hit with articles of impeachment over border crisis and misleading people on Biden. This story went big last night. We heard about it earlier in the morning. Republicans are already trying to impeach Kamala because she was the border czar. She was supposed to be in charge of a border that she did not actively solve. Or I should say, maybe it's a little harsh, she didn't actually do anything. She went down, I think, once. It caused a lot of contentious issues. And now the media is claiming she's not actually the border czar. Now, why is that? Why are they saying she's not really the border czar and saying, here's what she really did? I'll tell you, my friends, it's simple. It's because Kamala Harris failed at organizing any kind of relief effort. She failed at pushing back. I should say there's these push and pull elements for immigration. She did nothing to stem the mass illegal immigration, to deal with any of the crime and the crisis on the border. And so now their only move is to be like, she had nothing to do with it. She was just trying to negotiate with other countries. Spare me. The reality is she was the border czar. The media reported that she was the border czar. And now they're trying to act like she wasn't because they know it's detrimental to her campaign. Campaign she shouldn't be having, but here we are. Time magazine says Kamala Harris was never Biden's border czar. Here's what she really did. On her first foreign trip as vice president in June 2021, Kamala Harris was tasked with delivering a blunt message to Guatemala City. I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States, Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. And you've all seen the meme where it then cuts to Trump going, I'm going to come. Yeah, we love it. 3 years later, that soundbite may come to haunt Harris's nascent presidential campaign. Despite her warning, border crossings reached historic highs during the Biden administration. Republican critics cast the episode as a symbol of Harris's ineffective tenure as President Biden's border czar, a misleading label they applied after she was charged with helming diplomatic efforts to address the root causes of migration from Central America to the U.S. I've had enough. I'm absolutely sick of this. What's this? April 14th, 2021. Harris to visit Mexico and Guatemala to address root causes of border crossings. Why it matters. From Axios. The number of unaccompanied minors crossing the border has reached crisis levels. Harris, appointed by Biden as border czar, said she would be looking at the root causes that drive migration. Now hold on there a minute. Time magazine just said Republicans are falsely calling her border czar, a misleading label they applied. I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of these games. The gaslighting. Here's what you can do. Share this video with friends and family and provide no context. Say, hey, just watch this. Or, you can send them this. Don't even say anything. Just send them this article. Just send them this. And then she can read, he or she can read, Harris appointed by Biden as border czar. This is how the cycle has worked for some time. Donald Trump watches the news. A really great example. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull this up. Let's see if I can find this story. Let's see. It's been a long time. I'm pulling up a story from TechCrunch. Oh, here we are. Look at this one. Here's a story from TechCrunch, March 20th, 2020. We are days into the beginning of 2 weeks to slow the spread 4 years ago. And TechCrunch reported hydroxychloroquine, and other potential COVID-19 treatments explained. Of course, these days, I would always say, talk to a doctor. This is an old story. I am not bringing it up in any way to reference potential treatments for COVID or anything like that. My point is this. Donald Trump had talked about hydroxychloroquine because it was reported in the press as a potential treatment. When he did, they immediately came out and said that he was pushing dangerous fish drugs. They said, this stuff is fish tank cleaner. Oh, why is Donald Trump pushing this? It's like, I read the news every day. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I mean, I'm not saying it's a treatment for anything. I'm just saying Donald Trump just read the news. He read a news story and it said hydroxychloroquine and he was like, okay. Then when he says it, it now becomes a lie. That's what we're seeing now. Axios reported that Kamala Harris was appointed border czar. What is a czar? What does that mean? It's not an official term. It just means someone appointed to oversee an issue. It was used as an unofficial title to represent the task she had with solving the problems at the border. That is, mass illegal immigration. So everybody just said border czar because the media told us that, and we believed them. And this is the game that is played. Now they are coming out and saying she was never the border czar. They're saying Republicans have applied the label. Incredible. Kamala had one job, Nikki Haley told the crowd at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee last week. One job, and that was to fix the border. Now imagine her in charge of the entire country. Yeah, it was to fix the border. Here's the other issue. Now they're getting into the nitty gritty saying, no, her job was to solve the immigration crisis, not the border in general. When she was called border czar by the media, what were any of us supposed to assume her job was? It was the problem at the border was mass illegal immigration, and she was supposed to be solving it. And now they're lying to you. They're lying to everybody. They say, in fact, Harris was never put in charge of the border or immigration policy, nor was she involved in overseeing the law. They're lying because they are evil. They're evil. My friends, Donald Trump comes out and says, Charlottesville, there were fine people on both sides that didn't want a statue torn down. And I am not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. And to this day, Joe Biden, with a grin and a scowl on his face, says, Donald Trump called Nazis fine people. They're evil. They know what they're saying. They know that this is lies. So what do? We have to win. Good has to win. Now, I present you with the challenge, of course, because there are always the demons on your shoulder whispering into your ears. I hear from people things like, the tree of liberty must be watered. No. Good has restrictions. Evil does not. Thus, the distinction. Do you seek to be good, righteous, an agent of divine retribution? Unfortunately for you, life will be harder always. And that is the challenge that we have to face. Being good and being just is the difficult path. That's why it is the path of good. We do what is difficult and what is hard and what must be done. And those that are evil can't be bothered. So take, for instance, a man who robs a liquor store. Certainly that would be evil, right? Why does he do it? Well, think about it. Walking into a liquor store and taking hundreds of dollars from a register. Hundreds of dollars that you'd normally have to work several days or a week to gain. Working for a week is good, hard work. Carrying boxes, hammering, nails to build a house, difficult, laborious. Hard work takes a long time, but you earn your rewards. Evil is easy. Evil walk in, walk out. That's what we are trying to stop. What we see with Kamala, what we see with the media, what we see with Joe Biden's lies, it's the evil path. They don't care about doing the hard work. They don't care about the long-term successes. They don't care about planting trees whose shade they know they will never sit beneath. They care about chopping the tree down to extract as much as they can from the bark, from the wood, from the sap, from the leaves, to make their immediate lives better to the detriment of those who come after us. That's the great battle. I think a large component of what we see is short-term versus long-term gain. People on the right tend to be, and meritocratic people, they tend to be people of long-term satisfaction. The left tend to be short-term satisfaction. Do what feels good now, regardless of what happens later. Well, always you have to have some kind of balance. So we are the people who plant the tree, knowing that there will be no shade for us. We'll have to water it every day. But one day, there will be a young man who will sit down beneath a large tree with beautiful shade. He will sit next to the woman that he loves. They will plan out their family, and they will have something better. I think one of the challenges that we face as a civilization is a lack of the transference of appreciation. And that's something relatively new, but this is something that needs to be stressed. Needs to be. I wonder what the lesson would be for a young child. Have them stand in the sun while you're outside and they're like, it's so hot. I don't want to stand in the sun. I want shade. You say, hey, we'll plant a tree today. And that way, the next kid who is out here won't have to stand in the sun. And then when the kid is tired and you plant the tree, you say, don't worry. In 50 years, there will be a big tree and someone will have shade, so they'll never have to worry about it again. And that kid's going to be like, but how does that help me? And then you walk them a little bit to where there's already a tree and you say, here's the shade. Only because we planted that tree does a tree like this exist. And it doesn't have to be literally a tree. This is what I see with Democrats. The things they want now will damage and destroy America in the future and make everyone's lives worse. But it benefits them today, so what do they care? How do we solve for these problems in dealing with lies from the media and these manipulations? It's being good. And that means we have to work twice as hard, twice as long, and remain vigilant always. Because evil is around the corner, and they will subvert and destroy at any opportunity. That's what we're doing. That's what that's what our society is doing. That's what we're seeing. The Democratic Party represents overwhelmingly the manipulation, the lies, the extraction for personal gain, and the destruction of human civilization. Let's think about what we get with the Democrats so far. And I'm not saying the Republicans are good. I'm only saying that since we've gotten a wave of populist America First types, have we started to see these changes? Because the Republican Party, Mike Johnson's no better. He's a little bit better than Kevin McCarthy, but he's still relatively the same. Democrats want war. They vote for war in Ukraine over and over and over again. A country so far from America, people here don't even know where it is on a map. To be fair, they mostly don't know where anything is on a map. I doubt they could point out the states. That's what we get. How does that benefit us? It doesn't. It's just hegemonic power for those who are in control. What is beneficial to us today and tomorrow? That is strong foreign policy, a well-funded international military apparatus that is under the control of the American people and not starting massive wars, peace agreements instead of the conflicts, and that's Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the guy who went to Europe and said, NATO, pay your bills. The American people will not foot the bill. You are straining the global economy. You are straining the petrodollar. Pay from your GDP or else. And they go, well, fine, I guess. But they're not paying their bills. Why? Immediate satisfaction for these people. Short-term gain, long-term losses. Donald Trump says, secure the border. The American people should be safe and their jobs should be sound, and we should bring manufacturing back. A better economic base makes a better life for the American people in the long term. Abraham Accords. Economic stability in the Middle East. Peace between Israel and Arabic Muslim nations. It's a start. Not perfect. No, that's not what the Democrats want. For some reason, ISIS flourished under Barack Obama. Under Donald Trump, they evaporated. Peace in North Korea. All of these things that Donald Trump was working on seem to be plans for a more prosperous tomorrow. And the things the Democrats are working on seem to be plans for a more prosperous, I guess, immediate day for them personally. Seriously. When the money gets spent on war in Ukraine, the contracts go to these large military industrial complex corporations, and then these people in Congress bet on the stock and make money off of it. They're extracting from the system as they burn it to the ground. That's what you get. That's why the media lies. Because they're funded by this stuff. Because they have sponsors. Because they're brought to you by large pharmaceutical company, you know. Axios says she was the border czar. It's right there. It's plain as day. They're the ones who started this. Not Republicans. Republicans just said, look at the news. The New York Times says, why Republicans keep calling Kamala Harris the border czar. The misleading phrase is meant to underscore one of the thorniest issues in her portfolio, immigration. Oh, yeah. As Democrats tangle over the re-election prospects of President Biden, Republicans at the national convention this week have trained some of their most intense criticism on Vice President Harris. They have tied her to an administration that they say has led to increases in crime and inflation. It's true. They have cast her as an enabler of an aging, ineffective president. That's true. They have blamed her for record levels of migrant crossings at the border. Well, we'll pause there. It's not that she made them happen. It's that she failed to do anything about it. And if you want the problems to get solved, she is not the answer. But perhaps no phrase has been deployed more than this one. Border czar. Kamala Harris isn't able to do this job. She was appointed border czar, said Matt Gaetz. Appointing Kamala Harris to oversee the border is like appointing Bernie Madoff to oversee your retirement plan. But Ms. Harris was not, in fact, appointed border czar, nor was she tasked with addressing the broader problems plaguing the border itself, where minors have at times slept on floors of overcrowded facilities for days beyond the legal limit. Oh, wow. Is that under the Joe Biden administration? Rather, she was deputized by Biden with a diplomatic mission of solving the root causes of immigration from countries like Guatemala. Now it just sounds like you're nitpicking, because the problem at the border was mass illegal immigration. And that's mostly what Matt Gaetz is referring to when he says this. I can only just stress again. They're gaslighting you. They are lying. There's no way these people don't know what they're doing. I'll give you my firsthand experience. Here's Axios too. This one's really funny. Axios says, the Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly with the border czar title, which she never actually had. That's strange, because I read Axios. I do. It's a source we use here at Timcast. So I worked for these companies. I know these journalists. There is no way they just forgot. They didn't just forget. And they use Google every day, which means the person writing this article for Axios in this tweet knows full well that they themselves made this argument. Let me give you a good example. Let's say I love it. Ready to go. Ukraine efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. I'll pull up another example for you. Whoa! Ukraine tried to sabotage Trump's campaign and it backfired? Politico.com. Hey, it's right up there in the URL. You see it, Politico.com. January 11th, 2017. My, oh my. 7.5 years ago. How time flies. I was but a young man of 30 at the time. And now here we are. It's been almost a decade. And it is true. Politico reported Ukraine sought to interfere in the 2016 election to help Hillary Clinton. Let's do this. I will now search for another story. Ukraine interfere Trump, Russian disinformation. And this one was from Politico.eu. Here we go. Here's another story from Politico. How a Russian disinfo op got Trump impeached. The Kremlin may have been laying the groundwork for blaming Ukraine for 2016 as early as 2015. Well, that's funny. 3 weeks after Election Day, the Kremlin officially floated a theory that would ultimately lead to the only third presidential impeachment. Ukraine seriously complicated the work of Trump's election by planting information aimed at damaging his campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, a spokeswoman for Russia's foreign ministry told reporters on November 30th, 2016, accusing the Ukrainian government of scheming to help elect Hillary Clinton. President-elect Trump, by this time, was busy staffing up his incoming administration with top advisors, blah, blah, blah. Russian officials offered no evidence on that day or any other day. This story is from January 22nd, 2020. Politico has a story from January 11th, 2017 that says, Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. They also disseminated documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption and suggested they were investigating the matter, only to back away after the election. And they helped Clinton's allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors, a Politico investigation found. Yeah, that was Paul Manafort. This is Politico reporting quite literally what Politico then claimed was Russian disinformation. Both stories are still up. Neither have been retracted. So what's the conclusion? How could both of these things be true? The media is lying to you, and they know they are lying to you, and they are lying to you intentionally. Now, the question is this: which of these stories is true? I don't know. I can certainly tell you this. Paul Manafort ended up going to jail, and it was because of documents that were released from Ukraine. So I can only conclude that the story from Ken Vogel and David Stern is correct. That in January 2017, they said Ukraine interfered. Here we go. Look at this. A Ukrainian-American operative who was consulting for the DNC met with top officials in Ukraine and Washington in an effort to expose ties between Trump, Paul Manafort, and Russia. And Manafort went to jail for this. Let's pull this one up. So it's been a long time. Paul Manafort sentenced to additional 43 months in prison. Manafort accepted a plea deal in the case of September 2018, admitting to money laundering, tax fraud, and illegal foreign lobbying connected to his work for Ukrainian politicians. If it is true that Paul Manafort was working illegally with Ukrainians and that Ukraine is alleged had released this information to get him in trouble and damage the Trump campaign, how could this Politico story that it was a Russian disinfo op be true? Well, who wrote this one? Natasha Bertrand. She does not have a good track record. She's accused over and over again of fabricating news. There you have it. So Kamala was the border czar, still is. It was a title that the media bestowed upon her because she's supposed to be solving these problems, which she wasn't. And now here we are. The lying, the cheating, the stealing, the manipulation. And what can you do about it? Well, I can pull up every example which way all day, every day, because I do nothing but read the news all day, every day, nonstop. And I've done that my whole life. Here we are. I hope this is enough direct evidence for all of you that you have been lied to. Now, for those that actually watch this channel regularly, you know this already because I break the evidence down all day, every day. And I believe I've clearly laid out my case. Paul Manafort jailed for work in Ukraine. Politico reports Ukraine was releasing documents to damage Paul Manafort because they were trying to help Clinton get elected. And then several years later, Politico goes, actually, that was Russian disinformation. Fine. Then expunge Manafort's record. Oh, I'm sorry. One of those stories is not true. Two truths and a lie, I suppose. And we know the lie came from Natasha Bertrand. So be it. My friends, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends, become a member at Timcast.com to support our work. You can follow me on X at Timcast and Instagram at Timcast. Instagram's got clips from the show, clips from the culture war, and me skateboarding. X is, I don't even know what I post on X, shenanigans and complaints. So follow me there, and I'll have updates for you. For everybody else watching live, we'll grab some super chats, so stick around. And for everybody watching the clip, we'll see you all in the next segment at 4 p.m. Let's grab some super chats, my friends. Here we go. We got a regular chat. Someone said, thank God for Timcast IRL. Glenn Beck is terrible. I like Glenn. I don't know. I don't watch him all the time. Yeah. But appreciate the support. I just want to know what's true and what's not. And I think you deserve to as well. Let's grab some more. The Elder Millennial says, Tim, all this news about Biden is a psyop to make us talk about Biden when they shadow campaign Kamala. Should we not even talk about him? You know, that's probably the shadow campaign, to be completely honest. I'm going to close out a bunch of these tabs, make it easier to get into the next story. The next one's a lot of fun, my friends. They're coming after the funding. Let's. I think we have the story here. Nope, that's the old one. And oh yeah, let me just show you this real quick. All of the archived news. Kamala Harris's job on the border. Kamala Harris's job on the border. Yeah. We get it. The next story I've got lined up for you guys. The Trump campaign files FEC complaint against Biden and Harris over the transfer of campaign funds. Yeah, you can't do that. And so this is actually getting pretty big because FEC chair is saying it, Democrats and Republicans are saying it. So we'll grab some super chats before we get into that. Excuse me. And I will have a sip of this delicious yerba mate tea. Excellent. All right. And I will also stress that is the first time in a morning show I have ever taken a drink. I don't do that very often. I think we should talk about Biden, but I do agree that this is part of the shadow campaign of some sort. They are creating a circumstance where there's basically two people to complain about. Kamala Harris is in the Biden administration, but she's not Biden. So all the Biden problems are Biden problems, but all the Biden successes are Kamala's successes. You see the game they're playing? Nuke the Ice Caps, like the name, says we shouldn't be pushing to allow them to draft whoever they want. The military is weak because nobody trusts our leaders. Forcing people... Oh, I read that last time. Excuse me. The Arctic operator says, hey, Tim, I saw an ad for RFK last night. It got me looking at his platform. I'm not against him, but I want to know more. Do you have any info on the place to look for more info? I want to be informed. His website, I guess. I like RFK Jr. a lot. I think he should cut a deal with Trump. He's not going to win. His best path right now is cuts a deal with Trump, endorses Donald Trump. I would, oh man. Trump appointing RFK to an environmental role in the federal government would be absolutely epic. We talk about this stuff all the time. Luke Rutkowski comes on the show, seed oils, environmental toxins, biphenyls, phthalates, all of that stuff. With all due respect to my good friends over at Gayaki and their delicious yerba mate, aluminum cans are lined with plastic. So even I'm pretty sure even my delicious lemon spindrift lined with plastic. Worse, poor Liquid Death. I love Liquid Death. They're fantastic. They've got these light teas with low sugar in them, and it's just tea with a little bit of sugar. There's no artificial sweeteners or anything. And they're like, death to plastic. Your cans are lined with plastic. You can't do anything about it. This stuff is causing us problems. They're endocrine disruptors. They're causing developmental issues. RFK gets it. He talks about it with passion. I don't think he should be in charge of anything but that. That's why he wants to be president. So Donald Trump could say, RFK, Robert, how would you like to be in charge of environmental issues for the federal government? I guess, like EPA and other issues. And I don't know about environment. And actually, yeah, EPA might be funny. And RFK should say, like, that's what I want. Because when I talk to RFK, we talk about culture war stuff and politics and foreign policy. He didn't give you the light answers, but you talk about plastics in the water and he lights up. He gets it. I respect it. Emax Tactical says, is it just me or does he look more bald than a week ago? Me or Joe Biden? Because I'm wearing a hat you can't see. Joe Biden, he does. Yeah, for real. Yeah. Let's see. Veldrin Olis says, lose your right to vote if you vote Democrat. It basically means no voting. So no, I'm not for that. It's Ricky says, it just jumped on me. That's what YouTube does. Let me see if I can find that. When YouTube loads all the super chats at once. All right. I think I lost you, Ricky. Jeez. A lot of super chats came in. What can I do? Let's see. Grease Monkey says, I didn't get a notification of you going live. Is YouTube shadow banning you? Go to this channel's video section. Copy the title of any one of the videos. Post it on Google and tell me if it comes up. Because it's YouTube and Google. Basically the same company. It should. Yeah, but this channel is beyond shadow banned. All right, here we go. It's Ricky says, if they enact the 25th Amendment and remove Biden from office, then Trump supporters will have to lose the 47th gear, which would support Kamala. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Trump would be the 48th president. What a weird cycle. I hope they do it just because it would be funny. AK Storm 49 says, if Trump gets in and starts mass deportations, will there be any way to counter the media onslaught? There will be visuals that will be horrible. This is why my stance is not just blindly supporting Donald Trump's plans for mass deportation. This is going to be one of the most difficult and most delicate situations this country has ever experienced. And I insist, nay, demand that when this is carried out, any Donald Trump associated federal agency does things 100 times beyond the fold. What I mean by that is no trucks, no trains, no buses. It's going to be meticulous and granular. There's going to be unarmed, and I mean it, men with polo shirts on, knocking on doors and walking people out. And you may say, but Tim, some of these people could be dangerous. In those circumstances, we have backup. But what they should target first and foremost, illegal immigrants living peacefully but still breaking the law, and they will get arrested. And I do not believe they should be cuffed. I believe we start with the lightest approach possible. We must make sure, not just for humanitarian reasons, but for political and PR reasons, this is done so far above board that they will never question it. I want to see a nice young man in a polo shirt with a clipboard walking an illegal immigrant to a car where they're driven to deportation processing. And it's got to be done at a granular level and a decentralized level, because I don't want to see crowded holding facilities. Nope. Deportations must be swift. Planes, fine for the deportation process at the facilities, but they should be using individual cars. And you may be saying, Tim, that's impossible. It's so difficult. Good. It better be, because I will be the first to criticize and slam anyone in this administration if they're pulling off ridiculous visuals of armed men with guns throwing people in the back of trucks. I will not accept that. I will not tolerate that. I don't think any of you should either. We cannot allow this crisis to become a catastrophe, a tragedy. The people who are here illegally and have broke the law need to go back to their home countries, and they can apply to come here legally. That's it. The people who are here with visas need to file their paperwork now, and if they can't, then it's time to go home. You are not entitled to the fruits of our labor. It's a country that was built by those who came before us, that we have inherited, and we want to share. We do as a nation. You got to fill out the paperwork and come legally. If Donald Trump says trucks, trains, and all that jazz, it's not about the intention of Donald Trump. It's about the degradation of the system and the ramifications of it. Individuals trying to load 100 illegal immigrants onto vehicles, from holding facilities is logistically a nightmare. The conditions will devolve. Their health conditions will be bad. And I say we don't tolerate that. No one said it was going to be easy, but we are the good guys. And that means we do what's difficult to make sure we do the right thing. And that means what we do will never be the easy route. But I tell you this, there's a right and a wrong way to take care of this. The evil route would be not our problem. Take the easy path, throw them all in, cram them all in, send them all off. It's their fault. I reject that. I believe that we have to be humane, even in circumstances of criminals. The worst criminal offender you can think of. If they are about to act to endanger someone's life or cause great bodily harm, we have the right to use ultimate force. But we should not be glad. And there are people who take glee in this. And I'm like, no, you watch a video. Burglar, robber, walks in Brazil with a gun waving around. And then some guy sitting on the restaurant kills him. And people cheer for this. Do not mistake it. Celebration of such an incident is because the people were saved. We should never celebrate that a man died or a woman died. That's not how you be a good person. That what's inspired me growing up is the great men of history who have done what needed to be done and resulting in lots of death. And they said, I do not celebrate that I had to do this. It is not with pleasure that the enemies of my nation had to die. It is with duty. And I think about the story of Native Americans saying a prayer for the animal they killed. That's the kind of mentality of we should never celebrate death. You can celebrate justice and accountability, but not death. What I would prefer to see when someone comes into a store with a gun waving it around, threatening the lives of people, I would prefer to see they live and they be disarmed and incapacitated. That's the best of all worlds. Justice be served, penalty and the person who committed the crime learns, they get a learning moment, call it that, but everyone lives. It's always been the strangest thing to me too when people, cheer for death. And I'm like, you realize the evil man who committed atrocities upon death is removed from the circumstances that they have created. It's as if dying is the worst imaginable thing. Certainly if they go to hell, I suppose. But I think it's important that people who do bad things live with what they've done in such a way. So they experience it, they live it. I just think death is bad. And I think we have to be careful because there are children who watch. And the message I want to send to the next generation is men of great stature and of reasonable mind and great leadership do not want to kill. They want accountability and justice, which sometimes does mean people die. But the lesson the kids should learn is we prevent death. We preserve life. And that's universal. And yes, that involves abortion and pro-life issues. But when you get people who are cheering and be like, yeah, they got him. Woo, you get what you get, blah, blah, blah. There's kids watching that and they're being like, death, they're celebrating it. I don't like it. That's just me. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to disagree. That's just me. All right, let's grab this next story, my friends. From the Post-Millennial, the Trump campaign, Democrats and Republicans in the FEC are quite upset that Kamala Harris is trying to illicitly absorb donations that were given to Joe Biden. Apparently what they're saying is you can't do that, which would mean all the donations Biden received will have to be released back to the donors. So they're talking about $81 million for Kamala Harris. I don't know how much that's going to matter. Here's a story first from the Post-Millennial. Breaking: Trump campaign files FEC complaint against Biden and Harris over transfer of campaign funds. Donald Trump's presidential campaign filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission on Tuesday against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which accused the president and vice president of violating campaign finance laws by transferring Biden's campaign funds to Harris's campaign. And I questioned this. I was like, how is that legally allowed? They're two different people. The question I brought up was, if someone can give Joe Biden $100, no, it's a maximum 30. I think it's 3,300 right now. Is that what it was? Or something like that. And then Joe Biden goes, I'm dropping out of the race. Kamala, you can have my money. Well, I've never donated to Kamala. Can't I give her another? No, that's double the maximum. So how is this possible? Quote, Kamala Harris is seeking to perpetrate a $91.5 million heist of Joe Biden's leftover campaign cash, a brazen money grab that would constitute the single largest excessive contribution and biggest violation in the history of the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971, as amended. David Warrington, the Trump campaign's general counsel, wrote in the complaint per New York Times. He said that Biden and Harris were flagrantly violating the act by making and receiving an excessive contribution of nearly $100 million. And for filing fraudulent forms to the commission purporting to repurpose one candidate's principal campaign committee for the use of another candidate. Warrington continued, to date, Biden for president has provided no indication that it will return or redesignate all of its general election contributions. Thus, each and every general election contribution received by Biden for president is an excessive contribution, in essence. He argued that Harris is not the Democrats' official nominee yet, and Biden cannot keep the general election funds he received if he is no longer a general election candidate. The lawyer asked for a prompt response from the FEC on the matter, as Harris is in the process of committing the largest campaign finance violation in American history, and she is using the commission's own forms to do it. A Biden spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Times. An FEC spokeswoman said the agency could not comment on pending enforcement matters. But we have this from Patrick Webb. Patrick Webb on X, who is comms for Leading Report, says, Democrats are asserting the legality of transferring Biden's campaign funds to Kamala Harris's campaign and are requesting the FEC uphold the interpretation of the law. This follows questions raised by FEC Chairman Sean Cooksey, who maintains that such transfers are illegal and against FEC campaign finance laws, insisting that the funds should be returned to donors. This is a letter from not just Democrats, actually mostly Republicans. But this is the 118th Congress of the United States Committee on House Administration. And they write, Dear Chair Cooksey, as ranking member of the committee charged with oversight of the Federal Election Commission, I write to clarify a possible misrepresentation that appeared on your recent social media activity that may sow misguided doubt and confusion about the state of presidential election and the commission's impartiality. On July 21st, 2024, in light of President Biden's patriotic decision to prioritize the well-being of the nation over his own political ambition, you posted on X a contextless quote from 11 CFR. A reasonable observer could interpret the post, for which you provided no explanation or analysis, as to imply that Vice President Harris may not be entitled to the finances from a campaign for which she has been named candidate for almost 4 years. Further, your comments on National Public Radio yesterday morning seem to invite administrative challenges and litigation concerning the issue, which is unnecessary given the clarity of the law and will, if done for purely partisan purposes, increase the acrimony and division in our political system. So actually, it sounds like this letter is saying she should be able to keep them. Failing to provide important information about our campaign finance laws will fuel uncertainty and mistrust in our campaign finance system specifically and our democracy generally. As you know, a broad cross-partisan group of campaign finance experts agree Vice President Harris may use the full resources that the Harris for President campaign has accumulated thus far. As vice chair of the commission, Ellen Weintraub made clear, the bottom line is the same campaign committee. It is the same campaign committee. Hans von Spakovsky, a Republican member of the commission, who has testified as a campaign finance expert in front of the Committee on House Administration 3 times this Congress, has affirmed that Vice President Harris has access to the campaign's finances. Okay, so I'll clarify from earlier. My understanding was that there was contest from Democrats and Republicans. It looks like Democrats are saying it's totally fine if she has this, and Republicans are saying no, which makes a bit more sense. Campaign finance experts beyond the commission's current composition also understand that Vice President Harris may legally access the resources of the Harris for President campaign. Trevor Potter, a Republican former chair of the commission and 2-time general counsel to the presidential campaigns of the late Republican Senator John McCain, made clear that because Biden and Harris share a campaign committee, the vice president and her running mate can continue using the campaign's existing funds for the general election if she is on the Democratic ticket. Well, that presents us with an interesting conundrum. She is not currently the nominee. Biden was the nominee. So that's the question raised by Donald Trump. And this makes a bit more sense. We have this story from the 22nd. Republican FEC chair suggests Harris may not get Biden war chest. Sean Cooksey, the Trump-appointed chair of the Federal Election Commission, suggested Monday that Vice President Harris may not be able to access the millions of dollars remaining from Biden's campaign, which many campaign finance lawyers say is rightfully hers. Biden dropped out. We get it. The campaign has just under $96 million in cash on hand as of June 30th. Even before the campaign filed to change its name, Harris was listed as a candidate alongside Biden on the paperwork. Campaign finance lawyers previously told The Hill that Harris would be able to access the funds if she becomes the nominee. Democrats have started to coalesce behind Harris. But Cooksey called the situation complicated and suggested it would be challenged in the agency and in the courts. I think it's really complicated is the short answer, he told the Morning Edition on NPR. What he's attempting to do is give his entire committee, the cash and all the assets, over to another person. I think it's going to have to go through a process through the FEC. I expect there's probably going to be challenges to that at the agency and probably in the courts as well. Democratic Commissioner Dara Lindenbaum, who chaired the commission last year, pushed back on the suggestion that Harris would not be able to access those funds. It's quite clear Vice President Harris can continue using the campaign committee and its funds, Lindenbaum told The Hill. Steve Roberts, former general counsel to Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, was also skeptical of Cooksey's comments. This interpretation is likely wishful thinking, Roberts told The Hill. Since the declarations of candidacy for 2024, the reasonable interpretation is the Biden campaign committee is shared between Harris and Biden, and perhaps uniquely so because they are incumbents. Otherwise, in 2020, Trump-Pence wouldn't have had a shared committee, but would have set up separate committees and had their own contribution limits. I still fundamentally disagree with the idea that Kamala Harris should be able to get this money. They're going to mention that Cooksey was appointed in 2020 by Trump, who last week accepted the nomination. While Cooksey told NPR it's entirely reasonable to scrutinize the political motivations of members of the 6-person commission, which may have no more than 3 members from each political party at any given time, he defended his record. I always try to approach these issues based on what the law requires and what is the best policy, not what's going to give people a certain partisan advantage in the short term. Cooksey has sided with Democratic candidates and committees in controversial opinions that have angered many campaign finance reform advocates, including recent decisions that allow candidates to raise unlimited funds for state-level ballot measures, remove restrictions from certain mass text messages, and make it easier for candidates and super PACs, which can raise unlimited sums of money, to coordinate on canvassing. I'm going to put it this way. To that one comment from the Vivek Ramaswamy's guy, Trump and Pence were running together, but Trump is the candidate. I will stress this. When Donald Trump is chosen as the nominee, he then says, here's my running mate. The primary process is for a single individual. That person then chooses a running mate. The donations are given largely to the individual candidate who won the popular vote in the primaries, not the running mate. Kamala Harris did not earn these donations. The donations were meant for Joe Biden, who happened to have Kamala as a running mate. They should be immediately turned back over to the donors, who can then reaffirm their decision to support Kamala Harris, if that's the case. But the idea that I would imagine I ran for office. I said, everybody give me money. And then I'm going to run alongside John Doe, but you're giving me money. And then at the 11th hour, I go, I'm quitting. All your donations are going to John Doe. You're going to be like, whoa. He's not going to win. I don't want him to have the money. I never agreed to give him money. Yeah, that's BS. And that's the game they're playing. This could be massively detrimental to Kamala Harris if anyone has the balls to actually enforce this stuff. Silly. The idea that people were choosing Kamala Harris, they didn't vote for her in the primary. They voted for Joe Biden. Well, but she's running with him. Yeah, as a selected running mate. She didn't get a single delegate the first time around. So why should she just get to keep all of this money? I certainly think she should not. But I'll wrap this one up. I'll keep this one short. For those that are watching, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com, click join us. We're going to have that show up for you at 8 p.m. over at Timcast IRL. And one more segment coming up at 6 p.m. talking about some big social issues. Story gets crazier and crazier, the MrBeast story. So we'll have that up next. For everyone watching, stick around. I'll read some of your super chats, and I will see the rest of you at 6 p.m. Let's grab some super chats from y'all. And then, of course, we have the last big story. We read this on the members only show last night, but it looks like employees of MrBeast are now coming out and saying MrBeast knew about the allegations of grooming and worse, and it may actually get a lot worse. So I'm just, let's see. I'm going to pull up, you know what? I'm just going to pull up Drama Alert, who's been directly implicated by this stuff, and in this, and then what does this tweet have? The 19th Amendment stuff. We'll talk about this in just a second, and in the meantime, we will grab some super chats from all of you guys. So let's pop over, grab some super chats. Craig Bragg says Trump is a living monomyth, an agent of the Logos. The universe has a plan for him. The agents of Pseudos will fail. Oh, I love that. That's a great one. Agents of Pseudos and agents of Logos. Mitch says, awesome show, Tim. Keep up the coverage. Big fan from Australia. Love to hear it. Thank you so much for your support, for all your super chats. These morning shows have been a smashing success. Someone commented earlier that, let me tell you guys the breakdown in the process for how we do the show. Previously, I sit down, I find an opening story, big news, I record for 22 minutes. Stop. I then begin doing research again. Record once again around 11 o'clock for 1 p.m., find the big story. Then around noon, I record what I usually think are like slightly smaller and quicker segments. Like the FEC one was only about 10 minutes. Sometimes they're a little longer if it's cultural. Then they're uploaded, scheduled, and then I edit them all together for the podcast. And it's about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes long. That's a normal process. Someone said in the earlier chat that by doing the whole thing live and recording segments in the middle of it, I'm doubling my views. Absolutely, I'm not. The morning live streams get about the same amount of views as the morning show, the first recorded episode itself. So the one main benefit to doing it live is it's a lot more fun. Super chats have me talk about a lot more things. The show takes less amount of time to produce, but is longer because of the super chats and interaction that we have. And it's just, and super chats are greatly beneficial too. But the real issue mostly is it's more fun. And so it's been working out. I hope it continues to work out. And I'm enjoying myself. So I hope you guys are enjoying the morning live shows too. 2 hours of raw coverage and super chats. Jay Drax says, why the AM live streams? No more multi-vids a day. We still have the vids up. So the idea is instead of doing the opening morning segment and then a 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m., we do a 10 to noon live show The first segment would have been my morning 20-minute segment. I record the 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m. in that, upload them as clips for people who don't want to watch a 2-hour show. It seems to have been working out very, very well, and will continue. In fact, there's even been extra segments. Like I think I had like a rant earlier about Trump's assassination attempt that could have been a whole segment itself. All right, let's go. Thomas Conservative says the Democrats are 15 years away from being Hezbollah. Yikes. Marodney says to all the WWE fans who did the lie, cheat, steal better, Dems or Eddie Guerrero. Haha. What do we got? Let's grab some more super chats. This is Patrick says, when will we acknowledge it's not willful ignorance? They want us all dead. You are the carbon they are trying to reduce. I noticed this. That's a saying, but that's why they say don't have kids. I was in Chicago at the airport and the family restrooms all said all gender on them instead. And I'm like, well, look, dude, if I got a choice, I'm going in the... He's like, do I want to go into the public restroom where I can smell every... No, dude, look, okay? You give me a single use, I can walk in, I can lock the door, and I don't stank. I'm using that one. But these used to be family restrooms. They have the diaper changing station. They just swapped that out with all gender. Why? Cultural demand. Less people are having kids. More people are playing this liberal transgender game, the ideology game. And so they said, we get more complaints about not having an all gender bathroom than we do about not having a family bathroom. So just change the family one to the all gender one. There you go. Now I imagine if parents are like, where do I change my baby? Good luck, I guess. Sooner Ma says, recommend watching Solo Leveling and Dan Machi for your anime lineup. Keep up the awesome work, Tim. Solo Leveling, I've abandoned. I was a big fan early on. For those that don't know, the show is like, at some point around the world, portals open up and monsters come out. There's an awakening where people gain powers. And it's very much like a video game RPG fantasy, but portals to the real world. So they're going in these portals and there's dungeons and they fight goblins and dragons. And this one guy, all of a sudden, he's like super weak, gains the ability to level up. So every time he fights, his experience points increase, screens appear in front of him saying you've gotten stronger, and so he becomes stronger and stronger very rapidly. The problem I have with the show is at a certain point, it just becomes angels versus demons, and the whole leveling component is just erased from it, and then it's like 7 gods versus, and I'm like, off, not interested. Here we go. Portland Trainhorn says, I will be 45 years old here soon, and I would enlist in the military if needed. Trump Vance 2024. When needed. Like if this, I'm 38. They're going to go for the 18-year-olds before they go for me. Though I got to be honest, based on the current state of the American population, I'm still probably on the higher end of physical capabilities. So if it really did come to war, they may end up drafting me before a lot of other younger people who are obese and incapable of holding a weapon. That's true for a lot of conservatives. But if the United States was invaded, you better believe I'm going to be like, tell me what to do. Probably safe to say the best course of action for, I don't think it makes sense to send Tim Pool on the front lines. I'm not a fighter. You probably want to find fighters for that. But I'll do what I can, whatever that may be. Communications, seem to be good at that, I guess. They'd have me doing like what Tom Cruise was doing in Edge of Tomorrow. They're going to be like, get a camera and go film stuff and convince everybody we're winning. And I'd be like, I'm probably the wrong guy for that because if we're not winning, I ain't going to say we are. I get morale, though. I'll try to rally people. Vortome says, Andrew Wilson actually made that same argument about the draft, and now it's not fair that women can vote to go to war but not partake. He thinks if you service the state for a time, you can vote. Yeah, women overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Democrats overwhelmingly support war in Ukraine. That's going to result in me having to go fight and die if this escalates to World War III and other young men. These women are voting without any implication to themselves, and I reject that. That should be unconstitutional. All right, my friends, let's get into this story. The MrBeast drama continues. New allegations coming out about Chris Tyson, who has resigned from MrBeast after allegations of grooming a minor. Employees have come out claiming that MrBeast knew that it's actually substantially worse. In one video, a former employee, alleged former employee, I believe it's been confirmed to say alleged, says it's so bad what's going on behind the scenes with MrBeast that when this information comes out, he's going to get dropped by all his brand partners. And he says, Amazon, get your money back. Now, that's shocking. What's crazy is the allegation is basically that Chris Tyson has been accused of other things, but has threatened to sue MrBeast so they cannot get rid of this person. Here's a story from SCNR. Ava Chris Tyson splits from MrBeast after allegations of grooming a minor emerge. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and mental health. Tyson, born Chris, has been involved, I think it's actually CHRIS, not KRIS, has been involved with MrBeast, born James Stephen Donaldson, since the earliest... Who wrote this one? Chris Bertman. Born MrBeast, born such a way. Okay. Since the early years of Donaldson's YouTube career, MrBeast currently boasts over 305 million subscribers with over 55 billion total views. I'm just going to, real quick, tell you why that is. It's because YouTube puts them on the front page. It's good content. People like watching it. So YouTube says, we choose for this to be on the front page. The reality is also Timcast has a very high retention time. And they say, we do not want to put this on the front page. Because if they did, we'd also get millions of views. But don't get me wrong, MrBeast makes good content. And so they say, we want an entertaining show to be on the front page. People watch it. People then subscribe to the channel to large numbers because it's being recommended by default. There's other shows that do well too. Retention time is other, but YouTube makes an editorial decision not to allow, say, Timcast IRL on the front page. How about that one? In July 23, Tyson adopted the name Ava and came out as trans. Allegations against Tyson surfaced by YouTuber Prism42 in the last month, though came to a head on Monday after Drama Alert shared an X thread documenting the claims. In the month since allegations were originally made on Prism42's channel, Tyson scrubbed their social media. According to claims against Tyson, the fellow MrBeast star developed a sexually inappropriate relationship with a 13-year-old minor, later meeting with that minor when they were 16. Tyson also joked about sending nude pictures to the minor, according to X posts, then Twitter, dating back to 2018. Now, we had Attorney General Andrew Bailey on the show of Missouri. He said that right away sounds like enticement of a minor, which is a felony with a mandatory minimum 5-year prison sentence. The individual in question, who was 13 at the time, is now 20, says they were never groomed and they were just inappropriate, edgy jokes, confirming that this adult transgender co-star of MrBeast was sending adult sexual content, comments, jokes, or otherwise to a 13-year-old who they later met up with. Now, this person says, we didn't just meet up. It was my family was there too. Well, that just kind of makes it worse. Look, this is what this guy doesn't understand. He's a victim. He doesn't want to be a victim. I can respect that. But this is why we have protections for minors who can't consent or understand what is wrong. An adult man is sending sex jokes to a child, no less. But it's getting worse. Drama Alert says Chris Tyson from MrBeast is accused. We have, of course, a statement. You may have seen the news break earlier yesterday of Chris Tyson quitting. Drama Alert says, overnight, more allegations on Chris Tyson have been posted to social media. Alleged 2019 let's pull this one up. It's loading. Alleged 2019 Snapchat messages between Chris Tyson and a 14-year-old at the time were posted to X but taken down. The messages, so first, an adult how old is he in 2019? An adult should not be messaging a 14-year-old. And I believe the message is about selling bathwater. The 14-year-old wanted to sell bathwater to them or something like that. They ask, however, do you believe these messages are real? We don't know for sure. Moving on, we can see former employees of MrBeast have alleged that Donaldson was aware of Tyson's behavior at the time. Let's play this clip for you guys. This stuff is absolutely wild. This person posted this video where you can see the MrBeast header, confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement. Well, it looks like this guy just broke that agreement.
Why is he around? Certified lover boys, certified pedophiles.
Hold on, let me turn off the music. I'm outside MrBeast studio right now. Here's a cornfield. I'll explain that tomorrow. I've just been driving by looking to see, is there an FBI raid going on? What's happening? My name's Dawson. I worked at MrBeast from February to May of this year, 2024. Chris is the tip of the iceberg. And when Jake the Viking says MrBeast knew, yeah, MrBeast knew. I heard many times that Ava, Chris Tyson, is a major liability, but they can't get rid of her because she's already threatened legal action.
She? Come on, guys. Look, if you want to play the pronoun game and give respect to someone that you actually think is a nice person who is suffering from dysphoria, no problem. More power to you. But when we're dealing with someone who's accused of being a predator, I think it's silly to play that game.
And she knows too much. And when all this information comes out about everything that she knew, everything other people know, I promise you on everything MrBeast has done. Amazon, if you can get your money back, get your money back.
This is interesting because the allegations he's making are not about this Ava Chris Tyson transgender co-star, but that Chris Tyson has dirt on MrBeast that if action is taken against Chris, will release information and damage MrBeast's reputation. Drama Alert owner and fellow YouTuber Keemstar, born Daniel Keem, but I do think Keemstar stopped producing on YouTube, said Donaldson, MrBeast, had connected him with the alleged minor who uses the handle Lava. So this is the story here. This is MrBeast saying, Keemstar saying, MrBeast connected me directly to Lava, the alleged Chris Tyson groomed victim. Lava, I was not groomed by Tyson. I did not meet Chris Tyson by myself. I met Chris with the MrBeast crew and my family present. I ran a Discord with Chris Tyson when I was 13 and edgy, inappropriate jokes were said. That's it. Okay, I just got to say that confirms the illegal behavior. Now, what A.G. Bailey said was you'd have to basically assess the mens rea, the mental state of the perpetrator at the time. What were the intentions of sending these messages? Well, I have to wonder about them meeting up later and what the intention is. And Keemstar later alleged Tyson has expressed support for controversial artist Shadman, who has produced sexually suggestive cartoons featuring children. Shadman previously drew the Drama Alert's owner's daughter at the age of 8 in an adult manner, Keemstar claimed. Yeah, that's actually in the allegation videos. Keemstar says, Chris Tyson supported the cartoon. Wow. It's hard to read this stuff, man. The cartoon child porn artist Shadman that drew my daughter at age 8 in a sexual manner. This is a known fact. Privately, me and Chris Tyson even had a conversation about this roughly a month ago, and as it still upsets me. It's not misinformation, it's a fact. And you can see on YouTube Drama Reddit, they say there's a lot of transphobic BS that should be debunked. Chris Tyson was still a massive Shadman fan, even commissioning art from him, which made a cameo in one of MrBeast's videos. She is not as clean as a lot of y'all would like her to be. Why are you playing this pronoun game? If you really think this person is a groomer and pedo and all that stuff, would it not be fair to just say that the person is a he and that there's something else going on? Keemstar shared a screenshot of an now-deleted post by Tyson, appearing to say he enjoyed lolly content, which is a term used to describe sexually suggestive cartoons of children. On Tuesday afternoon, Tyson announced his permanent departure from MrBeast, saying, I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments if it hurt or offended anyone. It was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and mental health. Mutually? That sounds like you're going to be fired and you had no choice but to make it seem amicable. Keemstar responded by saying, you didn't apologize to me a month ago in private when I brought up your behavior supporting cartoon adult images of his daughter. Wow. What changed? Although Keemstar has taken personal issue with Tyson, the Drama Alert creator has said he believes Donaldson is a good person. I hate to put pressure on him like this, but he has to say something. You can't go around trying to save the world when you have someone so close doing things that are so disgusting. I don't believe that MrBeast is trying to save the world at all. MrBeast is generating content that he knows will make a lot of money. Because the things he's doing, he built a bunch of homes. We built homes for people who needed them. They sold right away. People immediately were granted these homes and they're like, okay, I'm selling it. A lot of the things he does, it's just I remember back in the day when Oprah gave away a bunch of cars and she's like, everyone's getting a free car. And it's like, wow. And then they all had massive tax implications, had to sell the cars or ended up in debt to the IRS. They were still given something of value. That's great, but it wasn't so simple. A lot of people were stressed out by it. Drama Alert says people are making racist and homophobic jokes en masse using MrBeast following the Chris Tyson allegations. Wow. Drama Alert gets more. Here we go. Look at this. Rolling Stone actually picked the story up. That's really interesting. Look, man, this is YouTube. This is the biggest YouTuber. I know there are bigger channels or there's big channels like this. I don't actually believe he has 300 million subscribers. Like, that seems kind of nuts. But when you go to YouTube, if you're on a brand new computer, you get MrBeast. Now, why is that? YouTube has decided this content is appropriate for everybody. It's good content. And I mean that literally. MrBeast makes awesome stuff. I do think so. I take issue with some of it. I don't like how he tortures poor people who are dealing with serious crises. Like, it's funny. Look, man, everybody loves I'm going to give a waitress $1,000. But when you've got someone who's like, my mom's dying, is like, well, if you can stand in this circle without going to the bathroom for 12 hours, I'm like, dude, that's messed up. Okay, that's brutal. Making poor people fight and struggle for money is just creepy and gross. And that's why it's funny that, like, he mocked Squid Games. He is Squid Games. I don't care for it. I like that he helped people with cataract blindness. But, yo, it's nuts that you need a game show to do it. He's got some other stuff that's, I'm going to pull up MrBeast right now. Pull up old MrBeast on YouTube. Oof, wow, these allegations are getting wild. He's easy. I've gathered 50 YouTubers to make them all fight for $1 million. It's kind of funny, right? I was looking at this. I saw this, came out 10 days ago. It's his biggest video ever, I guess. And he's like, 50 YouTubers fight for $1 million. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't do it. If someone came to me and was like, do you want to be part of this thing where you fight for $1 million? I'd be like, no. I don't get it. Whatever. I guess it's about being a part of a video with 187 million views. You don't really care about the $1 million. But here's a question I have for you. World's deadliest obstacle course, 177 million views. $10,000 every day you survive in the wilderness, 169 million views, 200 million views. How? Like, who's watching this? How many English speakers are there in the world, I guess? Whatever. I do think he's basically getting these views. I'm not saying he doesn't get them at all. I'm just saying, it's not the same as American cultural content or whatever. But that being said, I do like that Lamborghini versus world's largest shredder or whatever. But if this dude's going to maintain this position, he's going to end up, like, it's a big company. He's got a lot of employees. He's going to end up surrounded by bad people like Chris Tyson. And you got to push back. You got to call it out. You got to shut it down. I do think that most of the stuff he's put out as of recent are totally fine. Like, protect the yacht and you keep it. Yeah, whatever. He said stuff in the past that have made me really, really cringe. This one, offering people $100,000 to quit their job, I detest and despise. I seriously do. I watched a video. There's the videos on Instagram where people do this stuff. I don't like it. Guy pulls up to a drive-thru. A guy's like working at McDonald's, and he goes, "I got $10,000 in cash right now if you quit." And I'm like, bro, you're hurting so many people by doing that. Okay? Someone works at a fast food restaurant. You got a manager, you got staff. The other staff members who are making $15 an hour, $20 an hour, maybe, if they're lucky, depending on where they're at. Maybe it's 10. They're like, dude, if you leave us right now, we got to pick that up for you. And we're not getting paid extra. And some dude's handing you cash. I watched one video where the guy's like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll quit right now. And I'm just like, I suppose what I'd do is I'd be like, I'll tell you what. I'll quit right now and take the 10K, but I'm going to give each of the other employees working here $1,000. Actually, probably maybe 500. You couldn't afford it. But really, it's like you work in a job where you might make that in a few months. What you get the 10K now. I just think I can't stand this stuff. It's becoming way too Hunger Games for me. I'll tell you guys this. Everybody who's ever served me at a restaurant knows I give massive tips. Just bonkers. Large tips, especially depending on the size of the crowd. If we have 6 or 7 people, like a company dinner, like we sometimes will get a bunch of the staff members, we'll go out and have dinner, we'll like circle on, basically like a meeting, but good food. That server's getting a couple $100 off that bill. And so, I do this because, well, I can. We want to, we got a large group. It's hard work, but we want to try and help people out. I don't film it. I don't make videos where I'm like, look how much money I'm giving away. or create the stipulations, we end up with these shows where people know that poorer people who don't have money are desperate need of it to pay their bills because everybody's underwater, especially in this economy. And then you get the likes of MrBeast being like, I got a bunch of money. I bet you want it. What will you do for it? It's like, dude, I don't know. I'm just not a fan. I get it. Some people are like, free money. I'll take it. But for what? I wouldn't do it. I'd never do it. I never would have done it. Contests, competitions, I got a problem with that. But the idea of like debase yourself in exchange for money, get on your knees and I'll rain money on you. Be like, nah, I'm not interested. I'd rather, drink from a muddy stream than do something like that. Here's what I want to do. I really want to do a game show. I want to do a trivia, political, cultural, and news game show, left versus right, where we go out and we ask people, are you a liberal or conservative? Liberal? Would you like to be on a game show and be on Team Liberal to answer political questions, trivia, earn points, and win cash prizes? And then the show is meant to be hokey and funny, where it's like a guy and he's like, my name's Jim. I work in construction. I live in, Loudoun County, Virginia, and I vote Democrat. All right. And the next guy's like, I'm also a construction worker and I also live in Loudoun County, but I vote Republican. And then we're like, ooh, this is going to be good. Which team is going to win? And then we ask basic questions. We ask, let's see, we could do easy ones. We can do hard ones. It can be like, not necessarily like Jeopardy or Millionaire, but with a grade of ease of questions, like easy ones. So who is the 45th president of the who was the 45th president of the United States? Easy one. That's one for, $100. And it's like, well, Donald Trump, 45. Yeah, we all know that. And I also don't like the idea of fastest finger buzzer stuff. Nah, I think it'd be better off if it's like, you write down the answer, and then we see both your answers at the same time. And if you're right, you both earn the points. And then at the end, if you're tied, sudden death. I have a theory, though, that the right is going to win. So, hey, that's just me. But I'll wrap this one up. Look, man, I like MrBeast. I just don't like some of his content. It is fun. It's like, it's very lowest common denominator. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, it's like anybody can watch it and enjoy it. It's TV. And so this stuff's got to get answered for. Because if people aren't willing to call out this kind of bad behavior, you're gonna fire the guy, but you can't come out with a statement being like, yeah. But I'll wrap it up. My friends, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at Timcast.com to support our work. Check out SCNR.com for amazing news coverage and Tales from the Inverted World Live, the new show from SCNR. We're really excited for this. Shane Cashman, of course. If you like Weird, Wild, and Conspiracy every Sunday. But I'll wrap it up there. We'll see y'all tonight at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out. And for all the rest of you who are still here live, I'll grab a couple more super chats before we sign out for this morning. I got to say, I have a lot of fun doing these morning live streams. That's why I've been doing it now. I'm going on week 2. Riley Gerald says, now I have to choose Timcast News or Crowder. That's the only downside of the morning show. Love you, Tim. Looking forward to tonight's show. But here's the thing. I already had the 10 a.m. morning show every day for the past 4 years. It's always been there. So doing it live now doesn't really change much. I suppose it's longer. It's a longer show. But you can always watch Crowder and then watch this show because it will be there forever. A 2-hour-long morning show with comments and various stories. And it's just way more fun. I'm also thinking we could do some really cool stuff with this too, because we've got these segments in. I bet we could also, I might Zoom some people. Maybe we'll set up some Zoom calls and expand the morning show into something more substantive, because that doesn't interfere with the clips. Interviews that I've done on this channel don't do as well. People have never been big fans of them, and it's a different format. But if it's just in the morning stream as we hit 10 minutes with someone, that could be totally rad. And, if the revenue increases on this show, which it looks like it is due to your super chats, then we could probably hire someone to do production for a guest. And this would be like a Zoom call for 15 minutes with a representative, someone in the news, and we'd have that segment. That'd be cool too. But we'll see. For now, it's just more fun to go live. That's just the way it is. Hopefully I can keep pulling it off. I'm going to wrap things up. Here we go. C-Dub says, is there a place I could send my super chats to where YouTube doesn't take a cut? It's really difficult. It is. There's Stream. I think it's, what is it? Streamlabs? I don't know. It's difficult though. But I'm going to wind things down for now. We've got some more filming to do. We've got a lot of projects in the works culturally that we're working on today. Some big news coming up. So I'm really excited. Yesterday, I filmed, pull up my Instagram. I did a switch blunt switch flip and a switch blunt switch heel flip the day before. Get my sea legs back. I haven't skated mini ramp in quite a long time. But, I must stress, and this one really irks these like hater skaters. They really don't like me saying that I'm good at skateboarding. They get really offended by it. They're like, oh, but yeah, it's too bad. I'm not like the best skateboarder in the world or anything. When I was younger, I was way better. Haven't skated as much as I used to because we're doing news and all that, but I'm picking it back up because someone's got to push back on the hatred in the sport that is crushing it and pushing kids away, because if kids don't pick up the board, then skateboarding dies. And right now, there's more 30-year-old skateboarders than 15-year-old skateboarders. And I think it's fair because there was a big boom in skateboarding in the 2000s, so all of us skate, but there hasn't been a resurgence, and it's the fault of the older generation, my generation, so I'm picking up that slack. We're going to make skateboarding great again. Yeah, as an aside, Will Summer hit me up about the skate park story. I'm like, oh, here we go. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all tonight at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Become a member at Timcast.com and check out Boonies HQ on Instagram to watch some of our clips as we're ramping up production. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all then.